Welcome to the It Is What It Is podcast. This is your host, Michael. I'd like to take the time to kind of just explain, why I'm doing this and what the purpose of the show is. My overarching goal is to add value to your life in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't necessarily have to be confounded by a specific topic or genre, but anything that I have encountered in my life or will encounter, I'll bring it up in this and we'll just chat about it. The first thing that I want to talk about today is commonly misunderstood quotes and various ways of interpreting how something should or might sound. So, an example of a quote is that, why are you sad or depressed? There are so many other people that have less than you have. I think a common example is like comparing yourself to a child in Africa. I think a way that is plausible to misinterpret what that means is that, of course, the real meaning is to be grateful for what you have. And I think that the alternative meaning is that you don't deserve to feel the way that you do. And I think that's the more toxic version of that quote, right? So instead of thinking, oh yeah, those people might not even have like clean running water and I do, and that makes me feel blessed, right? The alternative way to take it is that, wow, I just failed my test and I don't have any reason to be upset about it because, they have it much worse than I have. So I don't have the right to feel the way that I do because other people have had worse than me. Therefore, I can't feel what I feel. And that is just the complete wrong message for that statement. I think potentially another one might be you have to work really, really, really hard to get where you want to be. And I think that what that quote is supposed to mean and what it's intended for is that for anything worth having in life, it does take a lot of time and effort to attain that goal. However, that goal is not so much about your perception of how hard you should work, but more about how you are not entitled to anything you specifically think, right? So I think that what it really is supposed to mean and what the intention of that quote is supposed to mean is that a lot of people think that, they want to be rich. So they immediately think, oh, if I just do this one thing, then I'll immediately become rich. Or like, oh, if I just diet for one day, then I'll immediately see results. I think that good things take time and it's about patience, and it takes a while for you to see change. I think that the wrong way to interpret that quote would be that you have to work yourself to the bone and sacrifice your well-being and sacrifice parts of your life for that goal. And to some degree that might be true, but just know that's on like the other end of the spectrum, right? Like that's like if you are really, really, really trying to attain something that is unconventional or uncommon, then yeah, you might have to give up some goals for that main goal. But by no means is the intention of that quote to encourage you to sacrifice parts of your life for a different part of your life. It just means to, again, not be extremely forceful on the types of activities that you want to accomplish, rather to be more patient and calm and understanding that things just don't magically grow overnight. And then the last sort of quote that I want to break down is, I think you hear a lot of people say, just be yourself. And I think this is like probably one of the most misinterpreted and misguided quotes there are. For being yourself, I think that what the true intention of what that quote means is just to be your authentic self and not to be afraid of what other people think of you, right? Such that you should always shine how you shine, and everyone's unique, and everyone should decide what purpose and what emotions and like what activities like make you happy, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. I think that celebration of uniqueness and different energies and different types of lifestyles is sort of like what that is supposed to mean. I think this is where it can be misinterpreted, or a lot of people get mistaken about it. Is I think sometimes people take that too far, and they're like, and this is like the wrong meaning, to be like, oh, hey, you don't like me, that means I reject you because you don't like who I am. Or I'm not responsible for how I act in real life because that's who I am. So that means is that you're always going to have a deficit, and therefore that has to be taken out somewhere. And think of your fat like a bank of logs. It's going to take from that bank to use for that energy. So why are there so many diets and fads then? Well, one, there's money behind it, right? If you do that fad or craze or diet, then a company might be able to profit off of you, right? Like the words high protein is everywhere now, and you're more likely to buy it if you're trying to lose weight. Back in the day, when they were trying to sell low fat things, you would have those like low fat grills or low fat yogurt or whatever it may be. So there's money behind it, right? And this is where like losing weight can become unhealthy, because what people generally don't understand is that once they get on their weight loss journey, weight loss is technically not that healthy. It's not healthy when you do it so quickly that your body can't recuperate. Like, think The Biggest Loser. It's not healthy if you do it so fast that you're just going to gain it all back and you don't have like the mental capacity to make your habits long term. And it's not healthy to get to like, technically it's not healthy to get to like 6-pack shredded body fat either, because your body fat is actually a proven mechanism to protect you, right? It keeps you warm. It protects you from injury. It protects you from like someone hitting you, for example, if you're like a caveman, right? Fat is actually something that's really, really useful. And this aspiration to look a certain way or be a certain way is by no means worth the health consequences of that. You might have a job that could require it. I think that might be like a valuable counter argument. But that's why some people take steroids or they get really, really shredded. And I think like a common misunderstanding is that looking that good and looking that shredded will literally make you impotent and reduce your libido. It will literally um, make you chronically depressed, and it's not sustainable. And those types of outfits and bodies are very, very temporary physical augments that they're doing to their body to look really, really good in that moment. And it's by no means attainable, right? So the healthy part of weight loss comes in, obviously, if you're at one extreme and you're really obese, and every single risk factor for almost every single disease goes up when you're obese. The health part comes in when you start focusing on both macro and micronutrition, right? So let's just say you get in the right amount of fats, protein, and carbs for the day. However, you also have to think about the micronutritional value, right? So like making that only consist of like carbs or like candy, for example, or only you eat only steak or you eat only ice cream or whatever it may be, is not healthy, right? Your body needs a diverse set of nutrients to fuel yourself. It needs different minerals and different micronutrients to basically fuel your brain and regulate your hormones and ensure that your body is working in a concise and consistent way. So to kind of sum everything up, right? Health and losing weight are two different things. Losing weight is a journey in itself, and it's just a mathematical equation. Being healthy is a completely different subset, and it's more focused on the micronutritional level once you attain a healthy weight. But maintaining that weight is way more important than just getting it off really, really, really quickly. I'll leave this off with one last note, that if you think that losing weight and dieting should be painful and it's really difficult to do, and you don't really have, or you don't think it's possible to eat clean, and you have to give up all the things you love, that's couldn't be further from the truth. You and everyone have overlap between foods you love and foods that are healthy. And it's all about just making conscious switches. And you can ask anyone who's like really, really fit and healthy. They always have some sort of cheat day or some sort of, junk food they like eating that they'll eat. And that's what makes you happy, right? It's like, that would be so dull if you can't eat the food that you like, right? But it's all about a balance. The last topic I want to talk about is about a current event. And I wanted to quickly talk about the sports betting epidemic, where you basically have all of these companies that are abusing a loophole to essentially allow something that should be illegal, that is an addiction, that is completely unregulated and super unfair. Like the things that these larger companies are doing within their product is technically through a loophole, so it's not even regulated by the government, which means they can do so many little hidden tricks and like predatory practices to take your money. It's so bad. It's really, 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 really bad. I would say unless you understand the math behind it and the statistics behind it, don't even attempt to use those platforms. And I'm sure you've heard the news about how there's a lot more sports fixing and just illegal outcomes that are forced from these money-making opportunities, which is completely true. I don't really know whether the US government will ever regulate this, because it's in a gray area where I think that the freedom to do what you want is rightfully your right. However, I think that when something is so unregulated, like gambling, which is proven to be harmful to people, and I think it's like some statistic is that like a majority of Americans have tried using these gambling apps before. It's a net negative on society, especially when it's not regulated. This is my personal opinion, but I do think that it should be legal in some capacity, however, very, very strictly regulated, with many, many, many rules around showing correct statistical odds and rights for consumers to really understand what they're betting and how they're betting, and giving all the necessary information to make the correct bet. I think there should also be more protections around who can bet, the types of people that can bet, and like maybe how much money that you can put into your account at a single time, right? Because like these apps are literally designed to take all your money. However, I'll leave it here. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this topic. I think it's a pretty hot button issue. But I hope you enjoyed the cast, and thank you.